What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Elevation here with another episode of the JBP Elevated, where we speak on the Joe Budden podcast and all of his co-hosts on and off the pod.
Oh my God. Everything just keeps turning. There's so much drama happening. How y'all been, YouTube? I apologize. Real life business was happening, so I made sure I took care of that before everything else. But now we're back. And apparently, I can't go 9 days without massive drama happening. I see Danny broke Julian being fired from the Rory and Mal show, and that there is antipathy behind that. I see Julian made his rollout. I'll be paying attention to that. I saw him on his live. I'm actually subbed to his page. I think it's very telling if he shakes the podcast game up, because he's doing a solo dolo as of now. So I will be keeping a keen eye on Julian. Shout out to Immani for standing up for Joe. I don't know if it was to his detriment or if it was beneficial for him, but shout out to Immani for showing his true colors, his loyalty. I remember what you said, nigga. You gonna stand on that. Shout out to the play that Joe's making for inviting Julian on the spaces, not necessarily the spaces itself, but inviting him to speak, inviting him to get his side of the story off. It's compelling content. I have a question. Why is so much compelling content happening over on these spaces that Danny hosts, that Flip and Immani host, that Ish is surprisingly hosting now? Why are all the compelling clips coming from spaces? None of these people own a platform over there. They just host over there. I'm not saying we own YouTube. I'm not saying we own Instagram or all these other platforms. But it is very telling that they won't go on their own podcasts or platforms and give the same compelling content. It's because they know they've reached the bubble of being too big. Now they're too big. So everything that they said or say is under a microscope. People are paying attention to every single word, especially everyone that has something to lose. We associate it with being sensitive, but I have a brand built behind this. So yes, I'm going to be sensitive because you're now cutting into my dollars. But there's a reason that spaces have been more compelling than anybody has been on their own platform, because they're actually giving it up over there. It's very salacious over there. It's so salacious over there. I'm going to have to start making content on what's going on in the spaces. Shout out to Too Clean. I see you. He's the uploading king. All you got to do is pay attention to what's going on in the spaces. You'll find out everything else. They say all the underlying things on the spaces. And this ain't hate. This is just, hey, I got to shift with the tides. Anywho, enough of the Julian and JBP talk. What about Ish? Last video I made was Ish is returning, right? And we were all in agreement. Of course he's returning. Of course he's coming back. But I haven't seen him. And there's rumors circulating out there. Apparently, Umar posted that he was going to be at the JBP on the 28th or the 29th. Whatever. That time has passed. We see a Wednesday episode. There's no Ish. So if he did record, Ish isn't going to be on this episode. It's going to be very telling, because Joe was hyping up the Ish return, or the Umar return, because of Ish, because of their little spat that they had with each other. They were disagreeing on a lot of topics. I don't know, guys. Ish is saying there wasn't a contract presented to him. What if he really doesn't want to come back? What if we really have seen the last of Ish? I am seeing a little bit of engagement on the comments concerning Ish and his absence, but it's mainly speaking on he's missing because of Umar. No one's speaking on the contract situation. And of course we know how valuable Ish is, but what if they haven't come to agreement on the terms? What if Ish said, I want double what I made last year? I want equity in the JBN at JBP. And Joe is staunch on that side of saying no. I've already given out all the equity that I want to give out. A lot of things are happening currently, even on today's episode. It was one of the better listens, I have to admit, until I got to the end. Until they pressed Mel's buttons and she exploded. It's one thing to explode when they're pressing a button or they're triggering you because they're wrong, but it's another to get triggered when you're wrong. That was very telling. So There's things going on behind the scenes of the JBP even without Ish. It's just drama ensued everywhere. But this was just me speaking on how I feel on a bunch of little tidbits that I'm hearing here and there and seeing here and there, following the Patreon, the BTS, or the lack thereof, because BTS, what it first started out to be, is not what it is currently. I'm all for Ian trying to get his shit off, and I'm in the minority on that. No one really wants to see Ian get his shit off. I'm cool with it. What I'm not cool with is the direction that the BTS is going. If y'all want a sitcom-based show, cool. Let us know that that's what y'all are gonna do, because y'all are changing the direction of the JBP, and every time I check the engagement in the comments, it's the same thing. It's things that I've been spewing. That's one of the reasons why I haven't been trying to upload videos. Stagnation. We're getting tired of the relationships. We're getting tired of the cheating. Y'all speak about cheating like it's just cool to do. We're tired of the immaturity that is shown by a 38-year-old. I'm not gonna say no names, but we don't want the change that y'all are giving us. So when it comes to BTS, I'm gonna assume the same thing. Ian, this is not the debut for you. If this is your network, because behind the scenes and from what I'm seeing, it looks like you have as much ownership in the JBN as Joe does, if not more. Because even when he speaks on that ownership part of the JBN, he always makes sure to include you. And a couple of times he'll slip and include Parks as well, but he makes sure to include you. So I'm all for you having ownership in the JBN. You're not a star of the JBN though. So this would have to be something that is treated as a side venture. Don't let the BTS become Ian's project, unless it has been Ian's project this entire time. But what do I know? Hey, quick side note, or I don't know if it's a side note because this is JBP related, but are we happy that we saw Jaewon's return? Of course, he wasn't on today's episode, but I did see his behind on the Patreon. I don't know, man. You know who else has been missing besides Ish? And I just got hyped because he was standing up for Joe. Immani. Where's Immani at? Is he genuinely sick to the point where he can't come to the show? Or are things going on behind the scenes with that too? Not as far as him and Joe plexing, because they're bros for real. I'm talking about your performance on the pods. You're not being noted for the things that I want you to be noted for. One thing Joe's always going to do is reprimand these niggas openly. So whenever Immani comes back, gotta pay attention to how Joe is speaking to him. And this is me hoping Immani comes back, because he's putting his neck too far out in these spaces streets. He's putting his neck too far out in Flip's Ventures. And I spoke on that in one of my, I guess 2 videos ago. I spoke on, shout out to Immani joining Flip's Ventures. But what does that entail? Why is Flip going after all the people that work for the JBP? In my head, that's where the discrepancy lies. So when we see Immani less and less and less, and we start seeing him more and more and more on Flip shit, and Imani's head is cool because he's still hanging with Joe. But in my head, I'm going to the Knicks game as your +1. Are you showcasing me, nigga? Are you trying to show niggas something that I'm not realizing at this moment? And yes, this is me delving into the future. Immani, pay attention to why Joe is trying to flaunt you right now. And then pay attention to how often you're on the show. You should be concerned about finding your way back onto the main pod. But we'll see. Immani's sick, Ish is sick. There's nothing going on behind the scenes. But hey, I'm going to delve into this Julian situation. I'm going to make a dedicated video on it because I saw his initial episode and I tapped into the live. But we'll get down to the bottom of this, because I want to start speaking on Rory and Maul again, because Maul anyway, I'll save that for that video. I appreciate y'all checking back in with your boy. I know it's been a long time. We're gonna get consistent again. Let's get right back to it, man. Y'all stay up, y'all be safe out here, because it's foggy as hell in Texas right now. It's hard to drive. I had to pull over. But y'all stay safe out here. And until tomorrow, y'all be safe. Peace.